So this is my Be Kind bouquet, because I know that it's really nice for us to be kind. And then I thought it was funny because it was like B, like BEE, it is Be Kind. So I thought that was kind of funny. So our bouquet is made up of sunflower and a rose. And then these are just like little tiny flowers. Like sometimes you see little tiny wildflowers. So they're just really teeny tiny. And then this one is just kind of like a little branch with some little berries on it. And then of course our adorable bee, because it's the Be Kind bouquet. And so I thought, well, what happens when you have a bouquet? Well, besides putting it in a vase, sometimes if you're really being kind, you would hand it to people. And so I was like, you know what? Best way to do a hand, I think tracing a hand is like the best and quickest way to draw a hand. So we're gonna start with the hand because it's the biggest shape in here. So what we're gonna do is I started at the bottom and I traced my left hand. Okay, so you're gonna trace whatever hand works for you, but I had to put it at the bottom because I need all this room for my beautiful flowers for our Be Kind bouquet. So you can trace your hand open, you can trace it like kind of closed. So I'm just gonna use Sharpie. I'm gonna go trace my fingers. Sometimes you have to move your fingers a little bit out of the way in order to trace them. I'm gonna trace in, and if you have your thumb open, then your flowers can stick out of your hand. And then sometimes we get to this part, the bottom of our hand, we actually just have to kind of complete that shape on our own. Because it's really too hard to draw around your hand. So sometimes I just do it like that. So we've got the biggest shape, which is our hand, that's going to hold the Be Kind bouquet. And then the next biggest shape I drew was the sunflower, because you guys know sunflowers are pretty big. So I had to make room for the stems. So I kind of drew my sunflower center right here. So we're going to start off with a circle. And sunflowers have pretty big circles. And then I made my sunflower petals kind of pointed. So instead of, when we do little tiny petals, these are going to be a little bit more pointed. And you can put as many as you want. I am just kind of going to go around until I meet the last petal. So you just kind of go around and add them. I have a lot of petals. I'm just going to keep going. I'm almost to the other side. So now I've got this big, gigantic sunflower. And we got to figure out where these other flowers are going to go. And when I was thinking about this, I thought, you know what? The next kind of biggest shape is going to be the bee. So I want to put my bee right here. Kind of like my bee is sniffing, not sniffing, sorry, they look for pollen. So looking for pollen in the flower. So I made my bee in the shape of an oval, or maybe like an egg. So either shape, oval, an egg, whatever you want to call it. So that's a big cartoon body. And then I want to also give him a tiny little circle for the eye. And it's so tiny you can just color it in, so little. And I would love my bee to be a happy bee because he's also a kind bee. Give him a little smiley face. And then I need to fit the bee's wings. So you can trace your fingertip for a wing. That's one way that works. Or you can just freehand draw the wings. either one. And then I think he's gonna need his little antenna. Bumblebees and bees have little teeny tiny antennas also. Now, you guys know, what are we missing that bees have? They're yellow, usually yellow, and you got a little bit of a black stripe. So I am gonna do 2 lines, fill in one of the stripes, and I'm doing this kind of quick. And then we can add one more. Fill in that one. The only thing our bee needs now, right now, it looks like it's just a, an egg floating in the sky, but we're gonna give him little feet. I made his little feet just like little curls. Got little cartoon feet. So I'm gonna add 2 more. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And then my bee, sometimes if you looked at a bee up close, like in a nature video, they have little tiny, like little tiny lines that are make up their wings. So I'm just gonna add, it almost reminds me of veins in a leaf. They're just these little teeny lines. So our happy kind bee is done. We've got the beautiful sunflower. We are gonna add, next we're gonna add a rose, because I think in a bouquet, a lot of times you see roses. So up here, we've got the bee and our sunflower. We're gonna move to the top. We're up here on the top. We're gonna draw a rose. So because the rose is behind, we need to draw kind of like a U shape. So it kind of looks like a U, but it's behind that petals. So we're just gonna do that. And then we are gonna draw like a snail shell. So it's gonna be a spiral, goes all the way around. And that is gonna be our rose. Definitely looks like a cinnamon roll. All right, we got sunflower. So now we're gonna move on to this next. We've got a really cute little, just like sometimes bouquets, they put these little, I'm sure you guys have seen, it's like baby's breath, like teeny tiny little white flowers. So I drew just little lines that are kind of like little branches. So right now it doesn't really look like much because it doesn't have any little flower pieces on it yet. So we've got the little branches. And then I drew kind of little teeny circles because this is, it's not an actual drawing of baby's breath. It doesn't have to look exactly like it, but it just needs to look a little bit like it. So just these little circles. And this is kind of my like cartoon drawing of baby's breath. I'll put a couple there, maybe another little circle. And these little circles are tiny. You guys notice how small they are? They're much smaller than the sunflower and the rose for sure. All right, and let's see what else. Oh, we still have our little cute little they're like little wildflowers. So the wildflowers, you can put as many as you want. I did 4 with little tiny centers. Circle for the center. And I wanted to make them look fluffy. So I kind of did like a curly shape. And it also looks like clouds. Kind of looks like maybe like cotton. So here's another one. And we're just going to stick them kind of next to each other. And they're kind of clumped up together. So I just 1, 2. Let's see if I can fit. I bet I could fit 4. 2. Your line looks like kind of like a telephone cord. Remember when we used to have telephones and they had cords like that? But they're just kind of curly. Before we put stems, we're going to do the same flowers, We're gonna do them on this side because we want to have a bunch. So near my bee, I think I want to fit them right here. So you can fit them wherever you can. If you can fit them up here, fine. If you can fit them lower in the hand, that's fine too. So I'm going to do one little circle and then another little curly line. And then I can fit another one here. A little curly line. Sometimes you have to squish them in a little bit. And I bet I could fit, maybe I can fit one more. So I'll put one here. Then I got my curly shape. Okay, so far we have everything that we need for our bouquet, except for the stems. We're missing stems. So I started with the sunflower first because it's the biggest flower. I'm gonna draw, and because it's in the hand, right? The hand's holding it. You hold, like if I hold, let's see, if I hold like a pen to see how it goes in my hand, and you can't see it right here. Okay, so we're gonna draw here, and we're gonna make the stem come down out of the bottom. So if you look, it's all the way behind the hand, and then it ends up at the bottom. And then we've got a bunch of flowers. So what I did is I just drew more lines next to my stem. So I've got 3, and then I'm gonna I'll add 1. And those can be different lengths because sometimes our flowers are not all the same length. The stems don't all meet at the same part. And then I want to give then these guys some stems because right now they look like they're just floating in space. So we're gonna do that. And maybe we'll come like this because sometimes their stems kind of stick out a little bit. And then our lines here, we can do kind of the same thing with this bunch. So I will draw, I'm gonna draw, this one's gonna be like a bent one. So I'm gonna draw a stem, kind of like it's bent. And then I'm gonna add 2 more tiny little stems, 2 little tiny bottoms of the stem. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different flowers in our Be Kind bouquet. All right, so your little Be Kind bouquet, you of course have options. You can leave it in the kind of black and white version or whatever color marker you used. And as always, you can color it in if you want, if you've got the time, okay?